It's okay to need people. I hear this over and over again in the media. Learn how to be happy by yourself, pursue your own dreams, be the main character. And I used to take failure in this system really personally. And then I realized only one person can win the job position. And since our culture is driven by what economic value we can personally provide to society, our jobs are our identity. In fact, I remember one of my teachers in high school pointing out the fact that one of the first questions we ask people whenever we meet them is, what do you do for a living?
Does everyone know my boyfriend, Bob Vance?
Kevin Malone.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. Stanley Hudson.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Ryan Howard.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
What line of work you in, Bob?
As if the people with a master's in their field who can only get a job at McDonald's are worth any less because they can't find an employer to hire them. And sometimes, more often than not, the person chosen for the job isn't chosen because they are the best person in that field, but because they have connections within the company and they are hired internally. And I think that we have to acknowledge that in a culture driven by money, there are winners and there are losers. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone can work from home. Not everyone can travel the world. If we want cashiers at grocery stores, if we want fast food workers, if we want our roads to be paved properly, then there's just going to be a percentage of people that can't pursue their dreams, that have to work these unsavory jobs for money. And I'll be scrolling through TikTok, seeing video after video after video of people telling you how to make passive income, how to be a landlord, how to raise prices. It all boils down to, how can you convince people to give you their money? As an entrepreneur, if you're trying to quit your 9-to-5 and be a business owner and do your own thing, that's not bad because you're providing a service that people either want or people either need. I think the reason that we're kind of tired of the system is because we're tired of trying to choose whether we're going to be a corporate slave or an entrepreneur. We don't want to define ourselves by how much money we can earn to survive. So again, and I will stress, neither of these positions are necessarily bad. Working a 9-to-5 and then being able to clock out at the end of the day is not bad. Being an entrepreneur is not bad. It's also not bad to realize that you don't even want to be a part of the system where you have to choose either or. That's also valid. Necessities are now costing luxury prices, especially in the US where we don't have free healthcare and where you need a job in order to apparently deserve good health. When I first realized I can't just do anything I set my mind to, my life changed. If you want to make a living off your dream, there has to be a market for it. There has to be people who are willing to pay you. And if there isn't a market for it, then you just get a stable 9-to-5, which is not the end of the world. It's just different. To give a bit of context, I used to train to be a classical musician, and while this certainly isn't an impossible dream, it is a dream that requires a lot of sacrifice. Sacrificing your time primarily, which is the most valuable asset we have, and we waste so much of it. But when I realized that I would be sacrificing my time, my peace, my mental health, my friendships, potential relationships, in order to make enough money to survive off of just my dream, I was heartbroken because I just realized how difficult that would be. This conversation reminds me of Amy March in Little Women.
Rome took all the vanity out of me, and Paris made me realize I'd never be a genius, so I'm giving up all my foolish artistic hopes.
Why did you give up, Amy? You have so much talent.
Talent
and energy.
isn't genius.
I took that personally. Her quitting as an artist, I was like, oh, should I quit? I'm not a genius. After thinking about it more, I realized what she was doing was seeing the world around her and taking it for what it really was. And I think when she realized as a woman she couldn't make her own living, she couldn't make her own money, even her children wouldn't be her own, then it made more sense to work with the system than work against the system and to marry rich to protect her family. And in the end, she did succeed. How she succeeded is very valid. So if you are in that position where you find yourself working with the system rather than being radical and against the system, you're not bad. You're not bad for doing that. It makes sense. Jo, on the other hand, decides to work against the system, to get her book published, to buy the rights of it, and to earn her own money. And through this, she also succeeded. I've decided for my own life that I would like to be somewhere in the middle. I know that I personally believe that humans did not evolve to live in this way. For a huge population of our culture to work our lives away to make the rich richer. And when I'm referring to the rich, I'm referring to the billionaires that could easily disperse their wealth and make all of our lives better, but instead hoard it and make penis rockets. That's why I want to make it clear that I'm not attacking people who are trying to become entrepreneurs or people who are already entrepreneurs, because in a lot of ways, we're on the same level. We're all trying to survive. We've just chosen different paths towards survival and fulfillment, and that's fine. But we need to eat the rich. And even though I strongly believe this, at the same time, I really like a lot of aspects about the traditional work life. I like that I don't have to depend on my passions and interests for survival. I enjoy the fact that my job has a time and a place. I can clock out and not have to worry about it. Working for someone else, it makes me look outside of myself. And again, I think I'm gonna make an entire video about this whole main character energy we have going on, but I genuinely do not think we were designed to be so self-serving, to only worry about our own dreams and what we're gonna do for ourselves and the amazing things that we will see. A big value of jobs that we're missing out on is the fact that they force you to look outside of yourself, to help someone else. It still adds a tremendous value to other people's lives and provides people with a service. I am definitely not saying to give up on your dreams, to not pursue your passion. If you do end up chasing your dreams and then eventually hate it or want to quit, you're very normal. If you prefer a more traditional work life, you are not a failure. And if by culture standards you are considered a failure that lives a simple life that doesn't want a super glamorous legacy left behind, then that's also okay, because that same system defines people by how much money they have, and there will be poor people built into that design. Fundamentally, it's a hard thing, it's a grueling thing, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. And again, discussing this main character energy, spending your time isolated from people, trying to convince yourself that you don't need anyone, is like saying, oh, I don't need art. Well, it's not absolutely necessary. And I'm like, okay, never watch Netflix again, never listen to the radio, never listen to music again. Do you think you'll still enjoy life after that? Oh, well, you don't need beauty. Okay, chop down all the trees, destroy the Grand Canyon. Life is beautiful, the world is beautiful. That's just what it naturally is until humans go in and cut it all down and destroy it for capital. But you know what I'm saying. And this is why the concept of necessities confuses me. Sure, you could survive without music, you could survive without friends, without delicious food, without movies, without art. You could technically survive, but who would want to? I would argue that needs extend beyond what keeps us alive and into what helps us thrive. I hate that rhymed. I was actually talking about this subject with a coworker, and he was making the point that because humans have fundamental needs, we are inherently self-seeking, especially when we're left to our own devices. And I don't really know where I sit on this argument. Like, I want to be an optimist. I firmly believe that more often than not, we are trying to protect ourselves from danger via coping mechanisms. And though that's technically self-seeking, I don't think that means that we are, at our core, bad. We're just wired for survival, and survival can be ruthless. But I'd also like to point out that when we see a clearly abused feral dog on the street, our first instinct isn't to be like, that dog is so horrible. What a jerk. Our first thought is usually, wow, that dog must have been abused. As I said in past videos, therapy has made me realize that anger is a secondary emotion. Our anger isn't the core of who we are. The things in our life we later come to regret, drinking to numb the pain, binge eating, procrastination, lying, cheating, browsing social media for hours on end, they're all numbing behaviors. And often we have developed these behaviors because we're trying to avoid the unpleasant reality of life. These coping mechanisms aren't the real you. They are a sickness.
I don't want to start popping pills just so I can turn into someone that other people want me to be. This is how I am. This is who I'm supposed to be.
Your illness is not who you're supposed to be. It's keeping you from who you're supposed to be.
The real you is the healthiest you. And the healthiest you needs a variety of things beyond what you merely need in order to survive. It's okay if we admit we're lonely, and it's okay if we admit we are depressed in a culture that is set up to praise beauty and wealth. A basic need of ours isn't being met, and it's perfectly reasonable to struggle in response to that. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I try to remember that we are all ants. We are tiny, we are fragile, and we're all scrambling on Earth to try our best to survive. Adele, as beautiful and amazing as she is an ant. And though she has touched millions of lives on Earth with her art, she's a human just like the rest of us. And the colossal impact that she has made is still minuscule compared to the entire universe. And when you think about the fact that the average human being is just pursuing comfort and happiness, you realize how silly wars, billionaires, politics, Instagram likes, TikTok views, and even the pursuit of happiness seems. That's all I have. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.